beautiful jewelry from the most luxurious brands at a fraction of the retail price. Luxury Bazaar has the best selection. Thank you to Luxury Bazaar for sponsoring today's video. Their website will be linked down below. Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel and to my weekly segment called Fragrance Friday. Today is a really special one because I will be unboxing the latest creation from Tom Ford. This is Rose Prick. I have been waiting for this fragrance. I picked this up late last night at my local Tom Ford counter, and I've been waiting patiently to unbox this. So before we dive right in, if you're new here, welcome. I am so happy to have you. This is our Pink Sparkly Bubble on YouTube, where we talk about luxury, beauty, fragrance, everything glam in between. So I hope you'll join our community by subscribing, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Rose Prick is part of the Private Blend collection, and this is considered to be one of the uber luxe fragrances. So this 1.7 ounce bottle retails for $335. It's a higher price tag versus the original $240. So it's along the same lines as Lost Cherry, Effing Fabulous, all of the intense fragrances. The Private Blend collection is considered to be Mr. Ford's personal scent laboratory. So these are all fragrances that are created by him for him. They all have special places in his life and extra meaning. Rose Prick was inspired by his personal rose garden. I had the opportunity to smell this at counter, I want to say a week ago, and I don't think a day has gone by since that I haven't thought about it. I've sort of been toying with the idea of purchasing this fragrance because I love it, and I had such a reaction the first time I smelled it. But last night when I went to pick this up, I did not ask to smell it. I wanted to save it and wait for this video. So I'm gonna go ahead and unbox this. I love the packaging. The millennial pink and the black, it's very chic. I'm trying to be dainty because I'm doing this on camera. Otherwise, I would have been like, whoosh. Ooh la la. Slip that off and let's take a look. So all of the Private Blend bottles look like little chess pieces. But I want to talk about this packaging for a moment because it is very special. It truly symbolizes the fragrance itself. The name Rose Prick is meant to be sort of cheeky, just like Lost Cherry and Effing Fabulous. It's sort of scandalous, controversial, a little provocative, and I can tell you from being in the store firsthand and seeing people's reaction, people see the name Effing Fabulous and they're immediately drawn in. They have to smell it, and in some cases they purchase it or they want to wear it just because they love the name. So there is definitely something to that. It grabs your attention. In a sea of beautiful fragrances with what feels like countless options, Tom Ford has truly mastered the art of standing out in a crowd. When I look at the bottle, the pink and the black, it's such a harsh contrast, but it's visually very interesting, and it represents the fragrance itself. It's a floral, but it's a little spicy as well. And a rose is so beautiful, but it has thorns. So there's this light, dark, good versus evil. There's a whole complexity, this duality, even when you just look at the bottle. Shall we spray? I think it's time to spray. Okay. This is what we've been waiting for. Oh, it's even better than I remember. It is so good. This has got to be one of the most beautiful rose fragrances, and I am partial to rose. I love rose. And it's one of those flowers that, I know I've talked about this before, you either love it or you hate it. It can be a very polarizing note. There are people who love to wear rose and people who associate it with their grandmother. It's such a modern interpretation of rose. It's so elegant and there's a strength to it. It is truly beautiful. And I remember the first time I smelled this in store, I sprayed it on a blotter card and I smelled it right after Cafe Rose because I wanted to compare, and it was like night and day. I like Cafe Rose. I would even go so far as to say I really enjoy Cafe Rose. It's never been one of my favorites, but I do like the fragrance. And it was almost awful compared to Rose Prick, and I hate to say that, but it was like, no, absolutely not. I definitely prefer Rose Prick over Cafe Rose. The two were so different when I smelled them back to back. Of course, I thought because they are both rose fragrances that maybe I could pick up on similarities, but they are just totally different. The fragrance that I compared it to is Delina from Parfum de Marly. That's a fragrance that's floral and spicy and stands out, and you smell it and you immediately think, wow, what is this? That was my same reaction whenever I smelled Rose Prick for the first time. So good. Now let's talk about the notes. I pulled it up on my phone for reference. So Rose Prick falls into the floral fragrance family, and it is considered to be a warm floral. It has Bulgarian rose, turmeric extract, Indonesian patchouli, Sichuan pepper, roasted tonka, and tolu balsam. It's described as a wild bouquet of beautiful breeds of rose de mai, Turkish, and Bulgarian. Sharp and pristine, the piercing prickles of the stems hook onto each other, bonding their blooms in pink perfection. I like that description. It says, a rose by any other name wouldn't be Tom Ford. Clearly a little Shakespearean reference there. I absolutely love rose in all of its forms, but Rose Prick is something that is so different. I think if you don't typically lean towards rose, or it's not a note that really captivates you, this may still be a fragrance that you can enjoy because it has that bite, that sharp, crisp edginess. The dry down is so smooth. Of course, it's still slightly floral, but I get a lot of the balsam. Maybe a little patchouli as well. It's a fragrance that definitely leans more feminine right off the top, but as it dries down, I can see this being a unisex fragrance, and all of the private blend fragrances are considered to be unisex. I'm not sure I would love to smell this on a man. I personally prefer fragrances that are really masculine on a man. This fragrance definitely leans more feminine. And as it dries down on me, I'm trying to determine whether or not I feel like this would be appropriate for day or evening. Right now, I'm sort of stuck in the middle, undecided. I think it could be both. And when you first spray the fragrance, it's so intoxicating and beautiful. It's a very sexy fragrance that you almost think evening, date night, tunnel vision, like this is the box that I'm gonna check with this fragrance. But I think it's actually more versatile than that. As it dries down and it becomes a little bit more smooth, it's sort of elegant and soft. I think this could be a daytime fragrance. I can picture myself wearing this during the day, but it would have to be a special occasion. Of course, at this price point, this uber luxury price point, I think you are gonna want to savor this fragrance and save it for special occasions. Generally, those happen in the evening, but there might be a special brunch, maybe a baby shower, or some sort of event during the day that you want to feel special. This would be a great fragrance for that. On a daily basis, I think I will probably wear something else that I don't feel as guilty about spraying liberally, but definitely evening special occasions, Valentine's Day, this would be beautiful. I love that there's this good girl, bad girl component. I mean, there definitely is a darkness, some depth and spiciness. There's woods in the base. And yet it's rose, which is the queen of flowers. It's kind of the most elegant, feminine, floral note that you can put in a fragrance. The mood that it sets is very luxurious. It's definitely elegant and elevated. I'm very curious to see how long this fragrance lasts on me. That's a problem that I've run into with some of the private blend collection fragrances. I really do not know why. Soleil Neige is a good example. I love that fragrance. It's so light and I just feel like I can barely pick up on it after only a few hours. Lost Cherry is probably my favorite, one of my favorites. That one is very long wearing on me. I can still smell that the next day. So it really just depends. I think it also, of course, depends on the notes in the fragrance. The closest fragrance I can think to compare it to would be Delina, and they're not very similar, so it's very hard to describe. I just picked up my House of Sillage Chevaux d'Or. This is another rose fragrance. I sprayed that over here. And this is far more true rose. It's a little bit more bright and fruity. Whereas the Rose Prick has more of a sensual, sultry, kind of sexy. It's more earthy, definitely, than the Chevaux d'Or. But both are so nice. I would say that Chevaux d'Or is more daytime rose, and Rose Prick is more evening rose. By itself, I feel like this could be a very versatile fragrance. It's only when I compare it to other floral fragrances that I realize how deep and spicy it truly is. And then I start to think of it as just purely date night evening. My final thoughts for now on Rose Prick is that this is a beautiful fragrance. I think it's going to capture rose lovers. I think it's going to capture pink lovers and maybe an entirely different group of people who maybe weren't wearing Tom Ford fragrances before. It's a very mature rose, and I don't say mature meaning your grandmother. I mean it's very adult. It's just not very bright, sweet, floral, fruity. It's not that type of fragrance. It's not body splash. I'm gonna try layering this fragrance, and I know that is like a fragrance sin, especially when it comes to Tom Ford Private Blend, but I just feel like I want to layer it with Lost Cherry. I want to layer it with my Chevaux d'Or. I want to just use this fragrance in ways that maybe it's not intended to be used. I just think it is so beautiful, and it has such an interesting quality. It's very complex. It is not a typical floral fragrance whatsoever. The beauty is in the dry down. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. I'm feeling really inspired now to round up some of my favorite rose fragrances because I think they're usually underappreciated. I was almost surprised when I heard that Tom Ford was coming out with another rose fragrance. Cafe Rose isn't a traditional rose fragrance. I think this is more in line of a traditional rose scent. But I don't know, it seemed so off-brand, and yet smelling this, it feels so perfect. It truly transports you to walking through Tom Ford's personal rose garden, and it's whimsical and beautiful, fresh and floral, but it's also very fashion forward and serious and sensual. This truly is Mr. Ford's rose in a bottle. I can picture it. It's beautiful. And on that note, that completes today's review and unboxing. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and you liked hearing more about this fragrance. Maybe it interests you. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Leave me your comments, your questions down below. I am so inspired. I truly want to round up my rose fragrances, maybe do a floral fragrance video. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. As always, I will be linking everything mentioned, everything that I have today on my face, down in the description box for your convenience. And for more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.